Hey, Megan. Hey,
Hey,
Laura.
Stefaruni.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Laura.
guys. How
Hey,
are
Great.
doing great, doing great. A
you? Hey,
little
welcome to
nervous,
live.
a little nervous.
Nah,
No.
it's just girls having fun talking about horses.
All right, I can handle that. Right.
Well, we'll get to it. Hey, everybody who's watching. Today, we have Laura St. Clair. She is the co-founder and CEO of Iconeq Technologies LLC, a revolutionary platform transforming how sport horses are showcased, researched, and discovered worldwide. She is a dedicated Hanoverian breeder. Laura is committed to advancing bloodline knowledge and promoting intelligent connections across the sport horse industry. Among her Eco Hill Farm breeding program's achievements is the stallion chemistry, um, recently licensed by the American Hanoverian Society. So, welcome, Laura. We're
Thank
so
you.
excited to have you. If you could tell us a little bit
Welcome.
about your horse
Thank
story,
you.
and
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about your business.
Okay, super, super. Well, thanks for having me on. I was thrilled to get the invite. I started in horses, I think, as a kid, horse crazy kid, and I did pony club and all that stuff and rode. My family had enough property that we could have some horses at home. We bred some Arabians a little bit when I was younger. And then I went off and went to college and got married, had kids, and got back into it really when my kids were a little bit older, and started back seriously into dressage. Bought a wonderful mare, and then really my passion now. I still ride a little bit, but my passion is really the breeding aspect of it. And I absolutely love that. And it's really, I think it's been so healthy for me to really study and be so involved in it. There's so much to learn and travel. And I've met friends because our horses are related. And so I have really loved that aspect of it. For a couple of years, I've volunteered for the American Hanoverian Society on their education committee, and that was really a blast. We launched their podcast, which is really fun. Did some webinars during COVID, which were nerve wracking for me, but were really good. So I really believe in the educational aspects of it, and that's really kind of where we were when about a year ago. We only started Iconeq. We just had our first birthday on Monday. So yeah, it's been an amazing year. But yeah, that's how it started. And then my career, my job was in commercial real estate. So I did commercial real estate marketing in the Tampa Bay area. I actually worked for an Australian company for their Tampa Bay office, Colliers Arnold, and I learned so much there about marketing, and that's another aspect of it that I will probably talk about a little bit when I talk about Iconeq, because I learned so much about really how we market assets, big assets, and yeah, and how we can really help with the horse industry. So thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
So, should we roll into from your history? Kind of like whose idea was this? Yours or your business partner's idea? Like, how did you decide
Yeah,
that you wanted to? I mean, this is a large undertaking, and there's
it is.
other competitors. So, tell
It
us
is.
about how you kind of came through that idea.
Okay, well, I guess it was about in 2013, 2014, I actually started a blog. It was called Shad Belly. I know some people will actually remember it. It goes way back, and when I look back on it, I think, oh wow, I was such an early little, like in my own little small way, this little influencer. And it was so much fun. So I did that. I think it was around 2013 to 2015. Partnered with Smart Pack on some things, some horseware stuff. I really had a blast with it. So I'd always had this sort of, like just this desire to do something that was involved in the sport horse industry. And then my partner on this project is actually my adult son, and he's quite amazing. And we were sort of brainstorming ideas, and like what is ripe for just disruption. And I said, oh wow, like the sport horse industry is so behind the times. I mean, it just, I love us. We're all in it. And like, I struggle with it too, but it's really backwards, I felt. And so about 2 weeks later, and I showed him how like Facebook works with the, and that everybody's on there, and you see all the groups and the carrots, and you have to look up and see the pricing and everything. And so it's all kind of in code, and I sent you a message and I got your message, and he called me a couple weeks later and said, wow, like, yeah, like I totally get it. Like, you want to do this? So yeah, we did. And, step by step, we've really built something that like, I'm super proud of. I'd love to start showing it. Maybe I think that there's nothing like seeing it in action. So hopefully I can show you all. And Megan, I think you've been on, because I think I saw your horse one of yours pop up. Yeah. So yeah. I'm super thrilled.
I have one question before
yes,
we start. Can
absolutely.
you maybe explain and expand on how you feel we're a little bit behind the times in the horse industry? Like, what are your thoughts on where we need to improve, and why are we behind the times? I think that's helpful for us to be, as a whole, aware of where we're at.
Absolutely.
And then I want to see the website.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah, I think we're behind the times because we, if you think about it, I mean, when we buy our horses, I mean, even an inexpensive, relatively like inexpensive, it's a huge purchase for all of us. Like, it's a major part. It's a major investment for us. It's an emotional commitment. It's just all of it. And I think that there's so much that I've learned through my work with the Hanoverian Society in breeding. I've gone to the breed courses in Germany, the stallion licensing, and I was just at Festival of Champions for the Hanoverian breed course, course there, which is great. I mean, I've done so many of those and I love them. And one of the challenges that I think that we often have is that we don't have that connection between what we're breeding and what we need, where they are. And it's really one of the podcasts that I did for Hanoverian was with a very successful amateur hunter rider, super successful with this horse. And her big thing was, in the hunter world, they're sort of like, you don't ride the papers, they just don't even think about it. I feel like the jumpers are on one end where they're like, this is genetic, like this is highly heritable. And then on the other end, they're like, change the name, don't even care. I think it's really important. I don't think it's everything, but boy, it's a lot, right? And so I think that the way we market horses, and I mean, I'll look around. I've got a licensed stallion now. I look for mares, like what would be a good fit for him. It's a job on social media, like on Facebook, to try to, you maybe get like, I've got a mare by this stallion, maybe you'll get the dam sire. You typically don't get the mare line, anything about, you just don't get what you need. And I find that a lot of times the strategy is to be very, very vague in the posts, so that you get engagement. People will say, who's it by? And what's the, like, and that's sort of, you do that to feed the algorithm. But like, I want to know, like, just, like, tell me, like, because there's something I'm looking for, and if it's either gonna fit or not. And also, I mean, I have a budget, right? So I'd like to also, like, I don't want to waste your time, and I think that it's interesting. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but pricing is interesting too, because I think sometimes when we don't put prices in, when we're to, inquire for price, a lot of people will assume that they can't afford it. And when in actuality they can. So, it's just a lot of things like that, but it's really helping. I think that we really need to start connecting, the horses, learn a little bit about the bloodlines. It makes it fun. Like it makes it fun, and it's not, like every once in a while you'll see when you go, wow, where did that come from? And then I'm like, I'm on Iconeq. I'm like, what else is by that stallion? And who's, like, I want to know all about it. And what else has been successful, and who has won? And, those are all the questions that I have. And it just seems to me that when we sell other products and things like that, I think of Facebook, and I sell, if you're going to sell furniture, or, in marketplace and things like that. But when you're selling an asset like a horse, like a partner for someone, I think that I felt that we could really do a lot better. So, yeah.
I want to say it's so funny that you talk about how if you put inquire for price, people assume, they're priced out of their price range. And I feel like, so I'm an accountant in my, real world.
Yeah.
But 10 years ago, I was also in human resources. And it's so funny. We continue to have these conversations in my corporate experience about how, like, for the longest time when jobs were posted, they didn't post a salary, and people were getting like, they'd be like, oh, this looks like a great fit. And then they'd go to apply, and it would be the inverse of that.
Yes.
They'd find out
Yes.
that the salary expectations were significantly under where they were coming from. And it's like,
Yes.
now we're starting to see it revert back to where corporations are realizing we were not getting good candidates because we weren't being truthful, and we were making
Yeah.
good candidates mad because when they would inquire and find out, let's say a job posting was maybe paying $25,000 less, like
Yeah.
they were realizing that they were just doing themselves all the wrong. And it's very similar, I think, situation in the horse world.
It
I'm a
is.
retired breeder. I haven't been breeding horses in over a decade, but I remember, like, the mentality in my mind as a breeder is you, like, pigeonhole yourself as soon as you put a price on the horse. And there was that fear. Am I
Mm-hmm.
pricing the horse appropriately? It's like you got to remember your location and the bloodlines and all
Yes.
that. And it's like, well, this is my bare minimum. And this is, but then you got somebody who's maybe got a nice horse is double the price. And it's like, well, a horse maybe in Southern Florida or in California, Southern California, is going to be probably more expensive than something you're going to find where Megan and I are in the state of Wisconsin. It's a
Yep.
different market. Not everybody wants to come in here to see horses, young horses, especially. Riding
Yeah.
horses is different, but so yeah, it's
You're
it's
exactly
so
right.
interesting what you said, because
You're exactly right. And location is huge. We'll talk about that as well. Is that, I think that there's a little bit sticker shock because I've been following up on a lot of the in search of ads, right? I'll actually message the people and say, what did you find? Did you find something? And what did you find? And it's fun because oftentimes they find something completely different from what they were looking for, which I'm always like, okay, that's so interesting. But I'm also finding that there's a lot of sticker shock right now where people realize, oh, I found this, I vetted it, it's perfect. And then all of a sudden they realize it's going to cost twice what they thought to get it to them. So, that's location is really important. So we're hoping to put so many breeders, horses in general, on a platform so that you can see what's around you. Because it's funny, it's like you don't, like, I thought I knew everybody, and and the horse world is a fairly small world, but you don't know who you don't know. And you know what I mean? And I've really learned on Iconeq, I'm like, I'll see people pop on and I'm like, I had no idea. And you have horses that are like similar, you're breeding similar horses, like, or I know that line, and and I have never met you. I mean, how is that possible? But it is. And then there are also, there are a lot of people who, there are a lot of riders, potential buyers who are not on social media, that just, and they don't, a lot of them don't know that there are all those groups, that they just, we all think, oh, well, did you look on, unicorns in, South Florida, that are with spots on there, with blazes and, 4 white spots. And they think that, they just don't realize. So, yeah, we're trying to build one comprehensive one comprehensive site for sport horses. And I should caveat this with, when we created the site, we really wanted to support what the WBFSH, so the World Breeding Federation for Sport Horses, their initiatives. And that means, so we limited the site. We said, this is for this group, if you're in or eligible for, and that's something like, I think there are like 85 different stud books and registries, everything, including some pony books. There are, a lot of the different, Hanoverian now has a pony book, Westphalian, and, so it includes all those. But, that's kind of, we support what they're doing. We support the DNA verification of the ancestors, and those are important things. So that's kind of the caveat for the platform. So
I love it. Let's see this platform.
All right, cool. Okay, let's see. So I think, okay, here we go. Let's see if this. So, okay. So this is Iconeq, and this is what you'll see. Are you guys seeing it okay? Am I showing it on the screen?
You bet. I love it.
Okay, perfect. So this is basically what you'll see. I mean, we open right up and you immediately see what we all love. You see beautiful horses. So this is kind of our opening screen. And what you'll see, these are just the individual, what we call the cards for the horses. So this is kind of the basic information. And to add a horse to Iconeq, all you really need is basically the information on this card. So we need to know, we need a good photo, and I'll talk a little bit about that later and why we should all be hiring photographers. And you need a photo, the name, the registry, date of birth, and you can just go with the year, sire and dam sire, the discipline that the horse is in or bred for, and your location. And that's it. So we wanted to make it where, it really was the kind of platform that you can, if you can do it on a phone when that foal is born. And it was so exciting this year. In fact, I'm going to click over right now while I'm talking about this. I'm going to click over to the foals of 2025, and we'll start just kind of looking. But it was really exciting this year because we actually had some people that the minute the babies were born, like the next day, they took those first photos and boom, they were right. They put them right up on Iconeq. And I just loved that. So that's kind of the premise. And then once there's what some people don't actually even realize is that there's a detail section. So if you see this guy right here, this Rocco, you click through and you'll see, more detailed photos of him. You'll see his price, you'll see his owner, a video. We accept, up to 12 different videos. So up to 12 different video links, and then the pedigree, and then his location. So so that's kind of page 2. So, and then if you've created an account, which is completely free. I mean, we built Iconeq as a platform. We wanted to make it, we knew to make it as comprehensive as we wanted it to be, that it would need to be what we think of as like frictionless. So it would need to be hopefully as easy to use as possible. And it needed to be free to put a horse on, including indicating that they're for sale, or if it's a breeding stallion, semen. We also have a custom foal opportunity, or for lease. So, we were like, there's no reason other than the few minutes that it takes to join us on the platform. And that way, if you're looking for a horse, you can start to develop the confidence that if you go on Iconeq, you'll see what's available. You're not going to miss anything. So that's really one of our core principles here. So, so that's just one basic search. Are you guys following all this? Is it all?
Yeah, I want to add, what was it, 2 days ago? I created my own, what do you call it, login?
Yes.
And I'm terrible on the internet, you guys. I know you think I'm good, but Stephanie, I just want to pimp Steph. Steph is the one who makes me look good. She's always catching me doing something crazy like last night, but that's okay. But I was able to, by myself, make my own login. And I also put my horse up on your website. So I just want to say to anyone who's like, oh, I can't do it. If I can do it, you can do it. So I think great job, Laura, or great job
Thank
to your
you.
son. Both of you, I think you did a great job because I was able to do it.
I have a question.
Fantastic.
I have a
Yes.
question. So, are you starting to build a database of, let's just go with stallions? So, I'm going to pick on Megan because she loves it when I pick on her. Like, so she has her horse listed, and he's a Danish horse imported from Denmark, and he's by a stallion named Freestyle. Now, I am an old retired breeder, but I was part of WBNA back in the day. We brought in a German bred stallion named Freestyle, and it is not the same Freestyle. So, her listing just says by Freestyle, and like, I mean, I know he's not the Freestyle that I bred several Freestyle offspring that were phenomenal horses, but I know this is a different Freestyle. So,
Yes.
is your platform going to be able to, like, will she be able to type in Freestyle at some point and be given a drop down of like Danish Freestyle or this Freestyle by a certain sire, so that she can be like, oh yeah, it's this one and not this one? Because
Yes.
we do get
Yeah.
like names being reused. We'll just say that.
We do. Absolutely. Yes. We have I have a long list of things that we want to do. I mean, when we originally built the platform, we kind of thought, oh, I mean, they're like, I love horse telex, I'm on it all the time. I'm a huge believer in, obviously. So, we were thinking, well, maybe we'll partner and, but who are we? I mean, they were like, we don't even register, we were just, like a couple crazy people with an idea. Right. So, but we realized that, first of all, like we've built an incredible amount of data because the users, I mean, right now it's user input with your pedigrees. So, I mean, in a way that's a good thing because it's like, I've kind of enjoyed it. It's a refresher for me. But in the future, what our plan is to take that data that we've built, scrub it down, and make it like that, so that you'll know you'll be able to grab and say, yes, this is the one that I'm talking about, and then it'll auto complete the rest of the pedigree as well. So, all of that is definitely, in the plan and so forth. But at this point, we still go in. I mean, there's still some issues, occasionally I'll see something, we try to fix typos and things like that. But it's amazing. People put a typo and they type their name in sometimes, and they'll say, "Oh, my horses didn't show up, and under my farm name, and there's a typo there." So, it's just one of those things. But yes, we absolutely hope to make that better and better. And we've done so much new. We've improved the site. Constantly throughout the year. One of the funny things I'll talk about for a second. I'm just going to click through this gorgeous Freeman while we're talking, but is that I'm assuming this is your boy, right?
That's him. And I do want to say I have not gotten to the pedigree. So
yeah, that's okay.
me.
He's gorgeous. Yeah. That's all right. But you've got the basics in there. I mean, that's fine when you get a chance. But super. He looks lovely. So it's funny because when we first built the platform, aesthetic matters. And so when we designed the way the initial profile card, I'll go back to that, the way this looks, let's look at some steam. We've also got a stallion button here. When we designed this, we designed the photos really to work across multiple devices, and that's a square photo format. And that was probably the biggest thing that my partner and I argued about in the beginning, is that, I mean, unfortunately, I'm trying to put a rectangular horse into a square shape. And that really was so, like, some of my own favorite photos of my own horses didn't work. And that was very, very frustrating. But in the end, I mean, I do think that it's the shape that works the best. You're dealing with, so many different types of devices, and there's something visually appealing when you see them all in a format like that. So so we've upgraded. That was one of our big upgrades that we did fairly recently. We've actually done a couple of upgrades to the photo uploader, but now it really can much more easily upload your photos and make them effectively a pretty nice looking square. So constant upgrades.
I have another question.
Yeah.
Because we are in the age of, honestly, like our smartphones there's incredible apps that you can put on them. And what I'm getting at is it's really easy now to edit and enhance your photos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
can even ask AI to tweak things. And
Yeah.
so, like, is there a platform? Do you guys have a stance on, majorly edited photo? I mean, stuff like that, it's hard to call somebody out, but, you're seeing it more and more. Even the press is putting out, photos of photoshopped horses. And I mean, it's really kind of the Wild West. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys can even.
Yeah, Stephanie, I think it's so hard. I mean, when I worked with a photographer recently for my stallion, and I really appreciated when she was telling me. I said, I want a couple good headshots, and I need a good confirmation shot. And she said, okay, like on the confirmation shots, I know exactly what you need, and I take that and I choose it. And like, that's like, she basically, I think what she's saying is like, there's no changing anything here, and I really love that, because I think that in this world, I think you're exactly right, that things are not always what they seem. And I think we're just at the edge of that. And that's actually one of the things that we thought about with the platform, because I think that, that going forward, I think that there will be increasing emphasis on actually seeing what we're buying. That you won't necessarily be able to look at a video and say, wow, look at that, or look at a photo and say, that's really what this horse looks like. I think that I think that there'll be more of an emphasis on going and actually seeing. And so I think that's another reason why it's great to be able to have a platform where you can see what's around you. Or if you travel, like if you go to Europe, I mean, we're a worldwide platform now. So if you go to Europe, like you can search for the horses there and then actually go see them as well. But I think that there are some new technologies coming out that can indicate, like if I take it can certify that if I'm doing a walk around video, that yes, that's not edited. You're seeing the horse, you know what I mean? Like all those things. That's in the future. But yeah, it's a big concern. It's a big concern, for sure. But we really try. I mean, we try to make sure that people have the rights to use those photos. It's very important to us that the photographers are recognized. I mean, they're an important part of our industry. So that's, please, if you're going to use, you need to buy those photos. We certainly recommend it. If you're selling something, it makes such a difference. And then also, try to go see the horses. So.
Love that.
Yeah.
I just want to say I love the favorites. I'm a big fan.
Oh, super.
Yeah, just to give you some feedback that
yes,
and maybe explain it and tell us more of the extra little buttons and what you're planning on in the future.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm glad you picked up on that, because it's funny too. It's quite different from how social media works. So when you favorite a horse, like I'll do American Dream here, he's favorited for me, but other people, the only other people that know that I favorited him would be his owner. They will be able to see that he has an additional favorite right now. And so we really didn't create it in a way of saying, oh, wow, I like this stallion because 500,000 other people have also liked this stallion. Because, the premise for me really is, what is right for me may not be the horse that gets like, that goes viral as it's trotting across the, across the arena. And so I don't need to know what everybody else thought. I need to know what I think, and so that's kind of how our favorites works. But now that I don't know who else I have in favorites here. So now that I've, favorited American Dream, there he is. And yeah, and then we've got some other beautiful, some beautiful ones here. And yeah. So yeah, thanks for noticing that.
We have
And
a
then
question from a viewer.
yeah,
And
perfect.
it does roll back to what we talked about, just the topic beforehand. Is the photographer's name included with the pictures? Like we were talking about professional photos being used. Do you have anywhere where you're putting, recognition, or is it just if they've watermarked the photo?
Yeah, that's a good question. We definitely will show, like, for example, I'm going to use my guy. Let's see if I can. So here he is, and his, the photographer has marked it here. And then I know that it's in many cases we've had people who actually will credit them within the descriptions as well. But yeah, that's really good feedback. And I'm working with a couple of photographers now. We want to try to build some tips for, a lot of times a lot of times we just can't get to a professional photographer right away. We want to put our foals up, or we need something up. So we're trying to put together some things. So it'll be some tips on like taking good quality or reasonable quality photos and videos using your iPhone and that kind of thing. But I will, that's great feedback. And we could certainly take a look at adding some things like that. But we really encourage, we need to be using photos that we have the rights for. So, that's, if you're going to post something, just like on social media, if you're going to post something, you need to make sure that the photographer is, that you've bought those rights. So. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, but we did have a question back there. So, boy, that's a tough one. Do you have like a statement on there? I mean, have you had anybody say, "Hey, I'm photographer XYZ. Somebody's put a post or used a photo of mine that they didn't pay for"? Because if it hasn't happened, it's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it will. And I think that, we have in our terms of service agreement that, that is all in I can show you where the legal stuff is. If you scroll down to the bottom, down in here, it will talk about the fact that, just like any posting, right? I mean, if you're posting those photos, it's not just on Iconeq. If you're putting those photos on social media, to please just make sure that you've got the rights to do that. So, yeah.
Do you want to kind of take us on a more broad tour of your website here?
Sure. Yeah, I can.
Show us around, because like people may not realize there's a whole ribbon at the bottom that has, stuff to click on.
Exactly. And in fact, this is a great sort of segue to start talking about how our searches work. And we've got this blog button at the bottom. And like this one that we wrote really gives you the great search tips. I mean, Iconeq is pretty much fully searchable. So, and I'll walk you through some different searches, but that's the whole idea of it, is that you can say, I'm looking for, or I love this stallion. I want something by this stallion as sire or dam sire or in the pedigree, or I'm looking for something in Florida, Wisconsin, or I'm looking for a Trakehner. I specifically want a Trakehner, so all of those searches are something at a certain level, it's all fully searchable. Now, two things you have to remember. The biggest one, and I can show you that, is that these buttons, when you're in your search filters, you need to always, between searches, just like any other search that we do on searchable sites, you need to clear the filters and then show to refresh everything before you start over. So I've had a few cases where people said, I didn't see any Grand Prix horses, but they had they had clicked on, for example, you have to make sure these buttons at the top aren't activated. So they were looking at foals of 2025, and then they looked for Grand Prix, but they still had that foals of 2025 button on. So there aren't any Grand Prix foals of 2025. So, if you don't get any results, take a look. This is probably something that you're activating that's limiting it like that. But the search, once you play around with it, the search is actually, I think it's really fun. So, but those are the kind of the biggest tips. And then again, it's layering. So you can definitely, let me just show you a little bit here. So we'll go back to horses. And if we are looking for, we're going to do our filters, and we're going to look for a dressage horse, and we're going to look for something that's for sale. And you can filter by price. Now, the challenge, what I tell, and Megan, this will be interesting to you as well, is that if you haven't put a price in and you have a horse that's available, but there's no price, and somebody puts in, I'll buy anything up to $1 million, your horse still won't come up, because if you don't have a price, it will not come up in a price filtered search, because we don't know. You could be asking $2 million for your horse. So that's why, and you can include a range when you put a price in, but that's why it really is a great idea to at least include a range so that you've got something in there to search by. But let's take a look at, let's take a look at, go ahead.
Let me quick interrupt you. We have a question.
Okay.
Is the focus dressage horses only? If not, what other disciplines can people look up on your website?
Oh yeah, we are all of the sport horse disciplines. So, well, the main ones, dressage, jumper, hunter, and eventer. You can see them right here. And we'll definitely do some more of the different disciplines for sure. So great question. Thanks for that reminder. So this is giving us the dressage horses for sale in the state of Florida right now. So there we go. And then you can just and then we could filter, for gray horses, we could filter by age, level of training, all those kinds of things. And then, can keep loading more. So that's kind of the basic search there. And so now I will go back. I'm going to go back up to filters, and I'm going to clear the filters and then apply. Now let's go look for jumpers for sale and United States. Let's look in, I know I've got New Jersey. So here, so I've got jumpers for sale in New Jersey, and I need some more. So if that's what you've got, join us on the site.
This is awesome. I want to go
you.
back to the price thing, because you're encouraging me to put the price down, and I just want to give feedback as a seller, right?
Okay.
So
okay. Perfect.
I've been selling horses, I don't know, forever. And I love it, but it's a game, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
I don't think it's just a game on the seller. It's also a game for the buyer, right?
Okay.
And so I live in Wisconsin. Everybody knows. And a lot of people are looking in the $10,000 range. And when they call me, and usually they call me rather than looking at an ad, and they, like today, this happened. Hey, I'm looking for a horse. I need to know what my budget should be. And I'm like, that's your choice. And I said, it's better if you just say what your budget is. And then she said, well, of course I want to stay around 10,000. And I'm like, well, let's say my budget for my sale horse is 65,000. So many times I've told people, hey, this is the cost of the horse. They have been offended and have said some amazing things to me. So
Ooh.
I actually, as a seller, rather than insulting people, I prefer they say, this is my budget. And I say, well, I have something or I don't have something. So for me, it's easier, because then you also get labeled as a certain seller. And I have horses in all ranges, but depending on the year, So let's say I don't have a $10,000 horse, and then they're like, well, you only sell expensive horses, so I'm never going to call you. And they tell their friends this, right? And so
Yeah.
for me as a seller, it's been easier not to label the price. Also, when they're calling and asking, you can also weed out whether they're serious or not, because then
Yeah.
I'm also spending a lot of time answering and blah, blah, blah. So just to give you a feedback as a seller, it's sometimes easier not to put out the price.
I get it. I totally understand. I think it's really, I think that there are pros and cons to all of it. And I think that some breeders, I have this discussion all the time with breeders. And I think that some breeders are now saying, there are certain horses that I don't want to put a price on, like this one. This one doesn't have, and there are commissions and there are different things. There's a lot of play in this industry. But I think that also, if you have, what I've encouraged a number of breeders to do is, if you have something, put a price on something, give people something to give a sense of where you are. And I think that, because it really is, I mean, the more it's whatever you're comfortable with, for sure. But there are some real advantages to actually putting that. I mean, you won't get the call from the people that are so far below what the level of the horses that you're selling, but that's okay. I think that, for me, I think that might be, they don't have to make that call. They know. And then if you do have something, if you do have something that's lower, they'll see it. They could follow you. They could see, oh, wow, she's got something that I could actually, that's actually my budget. And they would know. They wouldn't be like, oh, hers are always out of my price range.
I
So
have actually gotten emails, texts, and phone calls from people in a lower price range asking me why I'm putting that price on the horse. I've actually
yeah,
had people, but just so people who ever watch this, that that the seller, it's not just the seller.
yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
be kind to sellers. Oh, and here we go. We have a question. So
Okay.
how do you get paid? Oh,
Okay. What? Get paid?
how do you get paid?
Well, we haven't much yet. So from the very beginning, we actually did a podcast when we launched, and we actually talked about that. So the fundamental premise of Iconic is that the site needed to be, as I said, frictionless. So it needed to be free to put your horses on. And I saw this change in real estate over the years when I was working, and that it used to be information was really held very closely and protected and private. And now, we have like Zillow. So you see every house, right? Whether it's for sale or not, you can look at it. That's where the future is. And so we are not a transaction based, site. We want the information out there because that is essential to making the site the resource that we think people will want. We have some different things, and you've probably seen this as I've scrolled along. We literally just launched, we just launched this featured category right here. So you'll see these occasionally will pop up. They're just horses where the owners, this one happens to be mine, is actually just basically paying to have that horse show up a little bit ahead of, it'll show up more on the front, the first page. Every horse is on the site. Every horse is searchable, no matter whether they're featured or not. But it's just a way for us to help, pay for the platform and all of what we're doing. And then what I'll be diving into a little bit later, I want to give you a sneak peek, is called Yards. And that will be a paid service. We think that it's a huge value for our users because basically what Yards will do, I think the best way, I'm still learning how do I describe this, but it's kind of like your business as a website on steroids within Iconic. So, and I'll jump into that a little bit later, but that's once, now that we have the horses on the site, the horses will always remain free to put on because that is what people are coming to see. And then if you want a bigger presence, if you want to build off that, And then this yards concept is the next step, and that you choose to do it or not. Just like featured, this featured status here. If you'd like to, great. If you don't, no problem. You still show up. Yeah, that's the monetization plan that we have. Make sense?
Yeah, that's impressive because, you start. So are the videos stored, or is it a link to like YouTube, or how does that work? Because all this stuff,
Yeah.
all this data you're saving is going to start, I mean, I know like I'm a webmaster for a couple of websites, and I know like the hosting plans,
You
depending on
know
how
it.
big, you know how big your website is, things start getting kind of, pricey up there, and you're all these beautiful photos and videos and information. Your database is going to have to be big. And it's not only the size of the database and the amount of stuff you're storing, but it's also like how responsive you're willing to pay to have your server. Like, are you going to click on something and wait 15 seconds for it to load, or are you going to click on something and have it load instantly? You're paying for that.
Exactly. Yes, indeed. Yeah, and we've engineered it as best we could to keep the cost of the photos as reasonable. This is not my area, so I can't really speak to all of it. But one of the challenges that sometimes people have is that our videos, you can include up to 12, and you can name them as well, but that they are YouTube links, so that we're not hosting them. And I know that some people are like, oh, then I've got to go that next step. But that's just, that's what keeps us a free platform. And I do think that YouTube, I mean, I'm still, Steph, you and I need to talk more too, because I want to, pick your brain about a lot of things. But YouTube is an amazing generator. I mean, we see a lot of traffic coming just through YouTube. So I encourage people, like, yeah, you have to put it on YouTube. It doesn't go straight from your phone up, but that also helps you. That helps make those horses searchable as well. So I think it's worth the effort. But yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on.
Yeah, I've had those decisions to make. We do have another. I'm not going to put it on the screen, but we do. It's circling back to our previous question you were talking about. Is so what is the cost? And you were basically saying to list a horse, it's free, but
Yeah, it
then
is.
to go further, can you go into the to go further a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So to list a horse, or to put a horse profile up, to indicate that that horse is available or not. And we should also talk about that, because the site, as you can see, many of the horses on the site, like this one, for example, are not for sale. They're here because, they're important for people to know about. They have offspring on the site. This is a foundation broodmare right here. And so we encourage, it's another reason why we wanted to make including a horse on Iconeq free. So about half the horses on the site are not currently, quote, available. So they're there as a reference, and we're trying to build that database. So there's that. And then we were talking about the cost. So again, searching for a horse, adding your sport horses to the platform, indicating, marking them for sale so that they'll have this button, you'll be contactable through the site and so forth. That is all free. That is part of our mission. That's what helps us build the resource that we think the industry needs. If you want further, if you want to create a website through the platform, I think we can do it very cost effectively, and I can show you that. But we're still working on our pricing a little bit for that, but I think that it will be very cost effective for people and so much easier. See, the beauty about Iconeq's yards, they're basically building the website through Iconeq, is that the horses are already on the site, so you're not having to, I mean, we've got, like, it's amazing to me, and I'm taking a step back for a second, but it's amazing to me that so many of the people I talk to say, okay, I run a training business, and I sell horses, and I have a social media company, and we're having to put them on all these different sites, right? We're having to do, keep it all up to date, and it's a job. Well, with Iconeq, it's really, the horses are here. So if you create your site through Iconeq, all the horses information just flows directly through that way. So I think that's a beautiful thing. And like the registries are even getting involved. So the American Trainer Association is just, they're really brilliant. I think they saw the site, realized how it could help them run the registry. So they're now powered. They reached out to us. We did a collaboration with them. So they're now powered by Iconeq. So if you go to the American Trainer Association and you click on their site, you click on Trainers for Sale, it goes directly to the search on Iconeq. And so their members only need to update their horses. They need to put the horses on Iconeq, and the owners are responsible for that information, which helps the registry feel comfortable that, you know, that the owners are paying attention. And if they get a new photo, the owners update the photo. And, you know, it works beautifully that way. So I think that there are just so many different applications for that. And they even, can you guys see me? I'll even show you what I actually have it right here. Can you see? I don't even know. Am I still on the screen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So I got their American Trainer magazine, and, you know, I got the last couple. They actually, you know, printed directly. I don't know if I'm showing it right. Can you see?
Yeah.
So they printed directly from Iconeq, which was just, to me, I loved it. I mean, I think that this is so smart. So they didn't have to go in and like recreate. They just, you know, they just basically went in and said, these are these are our horses, and here they are on Iconeq. And, you know, we love that. We think that, you know, we're talking to a number of other registries, and we think that we can really help make that functionality even easier for them. Anytime you can, you know, make something more streamlined, more efficient. You know, I love seeing things on a screen, but I also love, I love seeing it this way too. And so anytime we can make these functions more efficient, it just benefits the industry, benefits all of us.
I think it's awesome. I'm super excited because I'm going to be quizzing you on how to get my guy featured. So,
oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Super.
So send me the information on that. But I think what's really cool as a breeder, I'm not a breeder, but I think it's really cool for breeders. And if you get connected with all the registries, how amazing is this going to be? Such a powerful tool. And then the thing I had been reading about is half of them are not for sale. And so, hey, what's the point on that? And then and I read that we can follow these horses through their career. And I just thought that was the neatest thing. So maybe expound on that.
I will, absolutely. Yeah, I think that, you know, a couple of things. First of all, I mean, knowing about the horses is so important, whether they're currently on the market or not. A couple of things. If you're a breeder, for example, or you know, if you're a trainer with something that's a work in progress, a lot of those horses are available to the right person if the right situation came about, right? So putting them on the site does a couple of things. One, it helps other people see how successful those horses are, what those bloodlines look like. It helps us make connections, right? Now I know you have this freestyle. If I see another freestyle, I know I can call you and say, tell me about yours. Like, what did you think? And what did, you know, like, you know, it opens those opportunities to connect. I think that also sometimes when we put things for sale, it's funny, the way we market right now on social media, especially, is like, it's almost like the first person who happened to be on, if you've got like people say, oh, it's sold within, 3 hours of me putting it on social media, boom, sold. Okay. I think that sometimes that's great. I mean, that shows incredible demand, but I think that oftentimes the best buyer for the horses it's a little bit of a longer time frame, right? And I think that sometimes people will say, I'd love to have a freestyle baby. I love that stallion. I'd love to have a freestyle baby. They'll go in and they'll look and they'll find one that maybe a breeder has that they don't have it for sale. They'll follow that baby, right? And then when it's time for that breeder, maybe they start them under saddle and then they sell them. Then then you're ready. You've been following that horse. You knew it existed. If you were in that area, maybe you went to the inspection to see it, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be, oh, I saw this horse, I bought it, you know what I mean, that weekend. It can be a longer and more thoughtful process. And it also helps keep the horses from feeling stale if they don't sell right away. I mean, some things are not the perfect horse for everybody. Some of them take a little longer. They take finding the right rider. They're more sensitive, whatever the case may be. And so I think that it helps also that we're not, I can't believe I still have this one. And, you see the same ads sometimes over and over and over again. And I think that sends to the market a little bit the wrong message that horse, that other people, that one's still, other people haven't valued that. So I think on Iconeq that they can stay for sale and still stay a little fresher. And then I've also, like I said, I've had a number of people who've said, oh my gosh, my horse isn't for sale. And somebody just sent me an email and they want to buy it. And like a few people have been like, oh, I can't believe it. And I said, what a wonderful thing. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to sell it. I mean, you just say, I wouldn't sell it for the world, but I love it. Tell them about this horse. If you know anyone, who was the breeder? Maybe there's something similar. Do you have this is to me, this is a wonderful thing. So it's really to help us sort of open the dialogue in that way and showcase what we have. I mean, if you're looking at, it's funny when you look at stallions, I'm going to go do a stallion search. So I'll have something to look at, but let's look at Louisville. So there he is. And then if you click on direct lineage, we'll see his offspring by, sire and dam sire. But, when you look at a stallion and what they're producing, I mean, I want to see who has a keeper filly. Do you have something that if a great breeder has bred something by that stallion and they're keeping that filly, that's the one that's what I want to know about, because that shows that there was so much value that they believed in that for the future. And so that makes me really, really believe more in the stallion. Does that make sense?
Well, it's also a really great way and this is me putting my breeder hat back on.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm interested in, let's say I've narrowed down my stallion selections for one of my mares to 3 stallions. Mm-hmm. I can click in here, find the stallion and click in, if you show that drop down again.
Yeah.
Right. You can click in the direct lineage. Mm-hmm. And then I could potentially see anywhere from 1 to exponential number of horses directly descending from that horse, be it, the stallion is a dam sire or its offspring directly by the stallion. Yep. And you can really actually get you can really dive into the research and be like, okay, are any of these mares similar to mine and what did it produce? And,
100%.
Bloodlines, because you're showing the dam sire as well. So let's say we're looking at a Gowdy and we want to see, a Maryline by Simpatico. Well, there was one you just scrolled by. So it was like, oh, look at that. Yep. I can see it.
Exactly.
Out of a Simpatico mare or, anything like that. So it's like, you can kind of start, if you're really interested in doing a deep dive on a stallion, you can utilize this as it starts to populate and really start to, and I'm hoping that maybe you'll be able to drill down even more. Can you drill down and be like, okay, I want to look at the sire, let's say Gaudy, and then let's say, can you do a secondary layer yet of being like, so dam sire needs to be, let's say, freestyle or Sandra Hit or whatever.
We absolutely have the ability to do that. We haven't done it yet, but it just is a matter of, one of the things that we've realized is that we only want to be as narrow as we have the horse population to support it. So right now, like Gowdy has a pretty good number of offspring. We want people to go and like, so you can scroll through and see. But as the population builds, then we can certainly, we plan all kinds of things to kind of, you can start sort of breaking it down. You can say now sire, dam, sire, and you can say like within states, you can start to say, I want just Ocala, I want just Wellington, I want just, so we can dice it and break it down further all the time. So, but right now it's sire, dam, sire, or you can do extended pedigree to see like Gowdy, if Gowdy is in the pedigree of those horses. So step by step. And again, it really is to just try to, it's hard as you're building something because, people, if they try a search and if they don't come up with something, they think, oh, okay, like you might lose them. So we're trying to be like, and spend some time. Like I've got people that go on the site. They'll tell me that they look at the site almost every single day. We've got a really, really dedicated group who look at new horses every day. They get up in the morning and if they're drinking coffee, they look at new horses to see who's new on the site. And I just love that, and we really, the whole goal is not to drill down and then it comes back and Iconeq tells you, here's your horse. It's like, dive in, you know what I mean? Like explore. Be careful on that Foals of 2025 search filter, because I'm telling you, you can go like, you didn't think you were buying a foal and, you fall in love with something. So, but it really is to sort of just like, explore a little bit, see what you like. And it also gives breeders a chance to look at what things like how many offspring are there, by the stallion, how many are in my market, what are they selling for, how many have sold, like that's really important information. So, I've definitely seen a lot of breeders come on and they'll say, they'll say, I went in and I put my horse in, and then as I was looking at prices, I realized that, wow, mine is actually a little nicer, or I saw some that were nicer than mine. I lowered my price slightly. And I think that to me, that was so rewarding in a way, because, when we breed, we're really not breeding commodities. We're breeding, they're not all completely equal. And we should really see differences. And if you look at, in Europe, the auctions, you'll see 1 or 2 or 3 highlights that will sell for, 10 times what the average is selling for. And that's because it's a special foal or a special young horse, typically with a very special mare line. But they're definitely, it should be less. I sell my weanlings for this, my yearlings for this. It should be based on the quality. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And that's exciting. It's nice to see that as honestly the database continues to grow, you'll be able to narrow down or add in ways to narrow down searches. But I do think that you're very smart to not throw so much search detail out there that you can get people really like down a rabbit hole and confused. I do want to point out we've hit that 1 hour mark, and I know you were we were talking about that, but this is good conversation. So let us know if you're cranking along or need to go.
Yeah. Hey, I'm good, because I still would like to show. Can I show you guys yards a little bit? We really haven't released this, but I would love to. Okay. So this is, and I'm good with the caveat that this is, you won't see this at the top and for another week or so. These different experts solutions in yards, and yards is the next thing we have coming out. And so I'm going to give you this caveat that we have some beta testers who've created some yards, and they are, so they're still a work in progress. So, but yards, again, yards is an idea. And I like to think about a yard as not just a farm website. It's more like your enterprise. So especially for trainers that might work, like maybe they don't even have their own physical farm, or they go from Florida to Wisconsin or whatever it is, this is your enterprise. And the great thing about what we're building at yards is that, again, the horses are always on the site. So when you log in, it gives you it gives you all the information that a website typically would have. And then here's the beauty, the horses are all here. And then if I go, and I can also, expand these, and, everything is automatically here. So you really only have to put it, well, you don't really only, you only have to put it in once. So the Pura Vida horses, it's a breeder in the Carolinas. You might find this beautiful Vesta by searching for Volantis. And then you can click through and look at the yard, so you can learn about the breeder that bred this youngster. Or you might start with the yard and then go to see, and then look at the horses that they have and find this one as well. So this is the way it works. And this is also fully within this is also fully, so I can just say, I just want to see their for sale horses, or whatever, a certain year, however you want to do it.
Are all of these horses Ellen's horses for sale or foals?
Yes, they are.
Wow, this is crazy, because I know Ellen. I sold her a pony.
You're kidding. She's wonderful. Amazing. Ellen and Jerry are super. Yes. And we'll look at a couple of other breeders too. But yes, I mean, they've been really, really good at keeping everything up to date. But yeah, she's breeding quite a few, and just super, super horses. And they've been such fun partners. I messaged them and it said, can I show your yard? I know it's a work in progress, but this, again, they're not a perfect example, because we just added this young horse raising, but the services portion of a yard will also be fully searchable. So if I'm thinking of buying a foal, but I need to know that I'm a trainer, I don't have my own place, I want it to grow up in a group with other youngsters. So this will also be searchable throughout Iconeq. So if I'm looking for young horse raising in North Carolina, or young horse raising in multiple states, or anything like that, this will all be fully, you can find them. A little bit about their facility. This is all, their teams. And that's so funny that you guys know them. An event calendar for them. A newsletter with some highlights from their inspection. Okay, yeah, some inspection highlights, that kind of thing. Go backwards.
Yeah, they're super. Anyone looking for a pony, head to Ellen. Head to Icon, and then check out all the ponies.
Check out Iconeq, and then so they're absolutely. And then a little gallery, and then the other aspect that we've also added, because I've been following all of the studies that have been done, about the industry and some of the burnout in the industry and the challenges. And, some of those revolve around finding, quality barn help, a barn manager, grooms, those kinds of things. And so we've built that into the platform as well for certain yards. So if you're a big enough yard, we can certainly also do where you can advertise for working students, and, it's all fully searchable as well. So, we're really hoping that that'll be another area that will help people a lot. So we think it's, the more I look at it, the more let me show you another couple of yards. The more I think about it, and again, I have a hard time sometimes, Alex and I will be like, oh, my brain, I can't wrap myself around, some of these different concepts and so forth. But the more I thought about how this will work, and, the more, for me, the more valuable I see it becoming. And this is another example. This is actually Carly Kolari. She's in Massachusetts. And when I'm actually in Massachusetts now, so in the summers, my horse is with Carly. And she's a great example of how a yard would work, because not only are her horses, like she owns this one, this is her horse, Raffaello.
We're not seeing anything different on the screen.
Oh, you're not? Where did I lose you? Share this tab instead. Here we go. Is that working?
That's better.
Okay. Do you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, super.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay, super. I'm still learning how these tabs work. So She's a perfect example. So if you look in her yard, and these are again all links, so she didn't have to manually, input anything, but her horse is here. This is actually my horse. And I was able to just go on my horse profile and say, oh, like not only is this one in my yard because I'm a breeder and I own her, but she's also in training at Carly Kalari. So she's actually also in Carly's yard. So, and this is another one. This is another client horse. This is such a cool one. This is by that Leader 7 stallion that Laura Graves is now riding. So this is one of the young horses by that stallion that I'm excited to follow. So it's a way of sort of putting, really illustrating how a training business works, because it's Megan, like for you, it's the horses that you own, and then also maybe some client horses that you have in training. And this is a way for them to be all together seamlessly under your yard. Does that make sense? Did I lose you guys?
No, we're muted. No, it
Oh,
looks great.
So, okay. Yeah, we really think it mimics as best as possible the way the market, the way horses really exist in the world, It's I know it's a lot to think about. For me, it's, it's a lot to wrap your head around, but yeah, we're really excited. We really think that it can really help make everything more efficient in the industry. So
I
that's
even
our
see a
hope.
job posting there. That's going to be amazing.
There you go. That's exactly right here. Yeah, we have a bunch of different jobs available. You can view details. I don't know if she's filled anything out. But yeah, yeah, we're super excited about it. And then she has an existing website. So of course we can link directly to that website as well. So I don't know if I may have opened a new tab, but
No, we didn't see that, but I see the links that you can link to. So
yeah.
What other links can you do? I see on there some of the socials, like the book, the gram, a website.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
talk or
yes,
there's so many new social sites out there. I mean,
we do. I can tell you, here's how the yard dashboard looks. Let's see. And I can see everybody's yard. Let's see, basic information. Let's see what website, Instagram, Facebook, X, YouTube, and TikTok right now are the social links right now.
I think Threads is getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting a little insane as far as the amount of socials. But obviously, the YouTube's important because that's where you're going to be hosting all your videos.
Exactly. So yeah, we're super excited about it. It's funny. I mean, this is one of our early beta testers, Andrea Sieg at Westphalians for USA. And it's so funny when we first created Iconeq, and she got the idea, I showed her how to do it. And literally like one night she just went in and was like, she put pretty much everybody in. And I don't think she realized, how many there are a lot of horses. And it's just, it's kind of interesting because she came back to me and she said, I really think I can run my business with she just like, you can start to see the possibilities. Like all of a sudden, like, she can sort, like now you can say, who are we starting under saddle? You can look at, by age, I want to look at all the yearlings to 2-year-olds. I want to look at what I've got coming next year. It just really opened the possibilities for a really coordinated, more efficient way to operate. Yeah. And she just sold a beautiful fall that I think all of us wish we'd had on our radar. She sold a foal last week, or 2 weeks ago, maybe, on Iconeq that was by Sky, who just won the federal championships in Germany. So yeah, the Szechuan Sun. So
I
that's
can see
super
this
exciting.
as a really good tool because For me, it's not daunting to go out, purchase my URL, and build a website, right? I've done that enough times. Like, I know what I'm comfortable with. I know the
Right.
platform I'm comfortable, but not everybody wants to do that. And you know what I
Yes.
mean? And then figure out the layout. Well, what do I want my website to look like, and how many pages, and what do I want the ribbon, you know? And you guys, like, this is a way to where if people are like, I don't want to build a website, they can just do it here and be
Yeah, they can.
right? And
And
they
you
still
can
have all the controls to do things, and then
yeah,
they
and
don't
I
have
think
to do all that.
yeah, Stephanie, I think you're exactly right. And I think for the user, I mean, you're building there are certainly a lot of areas to customize things, and we want people to do a gallery and show us, like, give us your culture, like, show us what what you love. So, and like, I think you'll see that a little bit. You can see her facility, which is also amazing. And then, let me go down here and you can get an idea. I think she's got some pictures down at the bottom. You can get an idea of her family, how big her operation is and so forth. But I think as a user, if I'm looking for information, I mean, I want a well presented program, right? But I don't necessarily need to have to learn everybody's, I don't, where they hide their folds, how everybody has a little bit of a different format and a little bit of a different structure. And, I just kind of want the information. I want the horses to be the focus and the people to be the focus, and not the website. I think that the future is a little bit more, I know where I'm going. I want to see, the horses from this program, and I want to get an idea of what this program is about and the breadth of it. And I think that Iconeq is, we've built it for that purpose. So,
I got a nerdy, geeky web developer question for you.
Oh, I don't
So,
know if I can answer it.
well, we're going to find out, right? So,
Okay. Yeah.
I am a retired breeder. I'm out of the breeding business. We're actually looking to sell our farm. I still have my website, not really looking to give it up. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, my number of pages and everything has dwindled down because it's basically just a historical search site at this point in time.
Yeah.
So, could I, and I bet you I could, but this would be a question, a little bit of a nerdy one. If I wanted to stop hosting my website, I'm wondering if I could actually still own my URL and just point it to a landing page, my yard page, let's say, on
Yes.
Iconeq.
Yes.
And then is it going to be a static page that I could, because I could just go into, my registrar and say, point it here.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Then,
Absolutely.
like, let's say Megan's like, I am getting so sick of updating my Iconeq and my Lindenhof site and doing this and all this. And she might be like, you know what? I have all the same information on Iconeq. Maybe I'm ready to just say meh to the hosting and my old website. And now I just want to, same like what I'm, using myself as an example. So yeah, I mean, I see a
100%.
lot of potential with this, and I see a real big headache for you and your business partner, but the total potential is absolutely there for this thing to blow up and be huge for the horse industry, for the sport horse industry, for sure.
Yeah. We're super excited.
I can see pressure coming from, outside, equestrian, outside, the hunter jumper eventing dressage world.
Oh yeah, I think we've had a lot of interest, and I've kind of, if for anybody listening that does have a different type of horse that wouldn't qualify, we've had some rare breeds reach out to us and say we need this, and I think that depending on how things go, we've talked about the possibility of maybe creating a separate, you know what I mean, like it would probably be a different focus because we really want to stay, this is a sport horse site, but send me a message, because I think that there is, I think that what we're building would work for different disciplines for sure. But yeah, I love it. I mean, I think that anytime we can make the equestrian industries better, let's do it. Let's do it.
I do have some ideas for you, but I don't want to like put them out on the live. So maybe we can stick around after the live.
Me.
Yeah, I will give you
Yes.
some ideas, but I don't want to like,
Yeah. No, we need to talk. I want to hear them. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so your idea of basically going backward, and we already have some users who have said, I can't keep up my website, and they're linking, their horse profiles, or the way the Trainer Association is doing. Basically, their search just is, directs them directly to Iconeq already in a search for trainers. Oh, and I did want to show you guys can still see my screen, right? I did want to show that really quickly. So if I just want to search, we don't have every single breed in, but we can search by some. So let me do trainers as an example. You just apply there. So this will give you, just all the trainers. And then if you want to filter it further by for sale, and this is really important for them. I mean, being a closed registry and so forth. And a lot of times people say, I really want, this particular breed. I'm interested in this. So here you go. We can do that. And as we get more and more, like, I know a lot of people have said, I love the Spanish. I really want to be able to search just for the Spanish horses. Yeah, we can certainly start to, do that as we get more and more horses on the platform. But for now, I mean, I think my message to you all is, well, first of all, let me show you quickly where to see about the campaigns for the featured. The featured listing campaign is here. It's at the bottom of the site. You can click on it and get all that detail. And we would love to have those horses, we would love to have more featured horses. We just launched that a few days ago. So, and our testing looks really good. This is actually my stallion, and he doesn't need any more promotion like through Iconeq. He's, we're pretty much all set with him. So yeah, reach out to me if you want to go ahead and be a featured. And it talks a little bit about what that means and where we've come with the site. But I guess my closing comment, unless there are any more questions, would be to just encourage your users. I mean, your viewers. I'm so appreciative for the invite to the live stream tonight, to you guys for reaching out to me and really giving me a chance to kind of give everybody an idea of what we're building. So, I encourage your viewers to create an account, get on the site, explore, just dive in. And if you see something that you don't like, shoot us a message. I mean, we've got all kinds of, all of our help at Iconeq is at the bottom. You can reach us through this. Let me click down. Oh, yeah. Contact us. Here you go. So yeah, feel free. We want to hear your feedback. Add your horses, please. We'd love to see more of the sport horses, and please add your brood mares. I mean, I want to see what you have. I think that's really important. And then really just enjoy searching. I mean, I've kind of created some lists myself of if I win the lottery, today, who am I buying tomorrow? And, it's fun to kind of keep that little list and then test yourself and look at new horses and see, who would be the top 3 that you would buy. And it's a way to help sort of educate your eye and really study the bloodlines and really dream a little bit in the market. So I encourage you to do that. And then for those who are interested in the yards concept, we're collecting. We've had our beta group. I did a blast on our insiders. We have an insider, we call it insiders group, which is a group of breeders, trainers, owners, and riders who wanted to help drive the platform. So we've given them sort of first shot at do you guys want to try this? And so send me a message if you think you might be interested in yards, and I'll make sure that you're on a list, and we'll get that sorted out. So, but we're just going to kind of let those we're going to ease that because we want to make sure that we can keep the support up and, we stay lean and mean. So we're going to have to kind of release the yards a little bit as we go. But we're super excited. I think it's going to be incredible for the industry. So hopefully.
I think it's wonderful. Thank you so much for what you're doing for our industry. I think it's such a beautiful platform, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
I'm so excited. We're so thrilled to have you on. Thanks for joining us. And guys, I mean, thank you for inviting me. And I almost forgot that I was doing a live stream as we went through. But yeah, thanks for walking me through it. And yeah, thanks for what you do with the Barn Besties and for letting me showcase what we're building. It's been an incredible first year.
Yeah,
Thank
this has been
you.
amazing. Yeah, thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on. We really appreciate it. And
Excellent.
we should mention this is going to be always available for people to view on our YouTube channel. And you know, if
Perfect.
you want to link to it, we'd be happy if you would do that. We
Super.
would love that
Okay.
so much. It's
Perfect.
a little cross posting never hurt anybody's business, right?
Absolutely. I
So we
love it.
appreciate that. Yeah. So this will be available,
Yeah,
yep, at any time for people to click in and watch and learn. And, if they
super.
want to go back from tonight and rewatch a section of where you were talking about how to do things, they can do that. We really appreciate it.
Super, super. And don't forget those blog posts, that the search tips, I think, is the most important one. If you get stuck, reach out to me. But also, if you go back through, kind of hit what the obvious, the things are that and I do it all the time too. So go back and take a look, and yeah, but don't ever hesitate. Reach out to me. If you see me on Facebook, you can certainly reach me that way, or through Iconeq anytime. And I love to talk horses. So I'm always happy. Oh, I want to show one more thing. Can I show one more thing?
Oh, of course
Yeah.
you can. And
Let me show one more
Oh, go for
cool
it.
search. Let's see if I can get back. Go
We
ahead.
do have one comment. I
Yeah.
think it's important to include. It's from Peter Kelly. Oh, Steffi's got it. Awesome. Keep up the great work, Laura. We found 2 wonderful Dutch horses through Iconeq. So
Oh, I love
shout
it.
out to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Thank you. So I have to figure out, we're so proud of how many horses have really found some incredible homes, incredible people. And we're so proud of the breeder support, especially. So I do want to show one more thing that I just kind of zoned out on. And that is, this is a real shout out to breeders, because we need recognition. And there is a search by breeder functionality built in. So let me look at, let's do Talon, because I know so if you want to search by breeder, you can put the name in and you can actually, see their program. And this is it's so valuable. The other cool thing is, once you're in, you can click through. So if you see a horse and you see the breeder thing, these are all hyperlinked. So I can click here and it will take me to everything else that this breeder has. And what I really want to encourage breeders to do, because I've had a few say, oh, my horses don't come up. Well, this is user input. So, if you put your horses on, you need to go in and add your name and your farm name, make sure you type it exactly the same, and then go and search for yourself and find yourself, and your horses should absolutely always show up. And you can even send a link. If you found all of your horses, you can send that link and you can email it or text, and immediately send to somebody and say, this is everything I have, or this is everything I have for sale. And they click through and they click directly into Iconeq. So it's just a really, really cool way to basically, to promote your breeding program. And, breeding matters. And we need to, we want to be counted at the shows. And we've given you a platform. Put your name in, put your horses in, and then put your name in as breeder.
Absolutely. I think the US has come a long way with recognition of breeders at horse shows, but it's a far cry from what it should be. There's still, it's not, you still don't, sometimes at regionals and stuff, sometimes it's just not there.
Yeah,
and
I know.
It needs to be, because 30 years ago, the US breeders are nothing like what they are now.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to do credit. So this is awesome. I love this.
Thank you guys. Well, it's been so much fun. It's been and it kept me away from the Hanoverian Foundation auction. Just went online the other day. So they have some great things, and it's like, oh, I would have been, I needed this because I've been shopping. So anyway, yeah, if you're online, take a look. They've got some great stuff. But I'm so grateful to the registries who've been so supportive of the platform, what we're building, and to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And thank you for helping improve our industry.
Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being a part of it.
So let me
Okay.
flash one more time. Right there. There's the websites on the
Yay!
screen.
Okay.
So people can see that. I've been trying to flash it on every now and then, but
Perfect.
yeah, definitely go there, click in, and do all the things, add all the horses, right?
Fantastic. Yeah, yeah, please. And if you have any trouble, message me. And if you have any tips for me for future webinars, message me too. I'm new at all this.
We should shout out. You can be found on Facebook. You guys have a page on Facebook, right?
We do. It's called Iconeq Technologies on Facebook. Yep, absolutely. We have an Instagram. We're on all the socials a little bit. Yeah.
There you go. It's hard to be on
Yeah,
all of them.
it is. It is. It's a full-time job.
It is with two of us, with Megan and I and Barn Besties. It's
hard.
a lot. We both working
It's
full
hard.
time and trying to do it, and it's tough. So
Yeah, I always get those little things like time to post again. I'm like, what? No way. So yeah.
Well,
all right. Well,
thank you for all of your time, Laura.
yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for
so
having me
much.
on. Thanks for what you're doing at Barn Besties.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for checking in, viewing in. Please make sure you're subscribed on your way out. Watch our other videos. Lots of playlists and things you can dig around and look at. I want to shout out the fact Megan got to spend a day with a pretty important person in the horse world, Monty Roberts. We have a playlist there. But yeah, we appreciate this so much. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll let everybody go now, right?
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye,
Thank you
guys.
for your time. Bye,
Thanks
everybody.
so much. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.